Good evening. It's Friday night, just gone 7 o'clock. We're getting earlier and earlier. Maybe one of these weeks we'll actually be on time and start bang on 7. But hey, we're not too bad tonight. You're listening, as always, on the Friday night to the Friday Night Football Pitch with myself, Cammy McDonald. Dennis Newell, as always, as a co-host. And tonight we're joined by Ian Preston, who is the... Ian, I'll let you do your title.
I'll see if I can see this in one go without tripping over myself. The football, I am the football, this sounds quite ominous, the football club liaison manager for Breeze Radio Scotland, that's based in Hamilton in Lanarkshire, and it's a grandiose title, but it effectively what it means is it's a voluntary position with Breeze Radio Scotland. It's a community radio station, and effectively what I do is liaise with the football clubs, particularly in Lanarkshire, the Lanarkshire professional clubs. Partner with them just to make sure that we get we seek accreditation. Great cooperation from the clubs, I've got to say, not just in Lanarkshire, but particularly in the west of Scotland and further afield. So that's basically my role. I do other things that puts the bread on the table, but I'll not bore you with that. But the main thing for the viewers and the listeners is tonight is, that's my role at Breeze. So trying to keep sane when I talk about football.
Yeah. Well, I think as an Airdrieonian representative, sanity is obviously something that's in short supply at the moment.
Sanity is out that window that you see there.
Yeah. Well, tonight, obviously, as I said, Dennis Newell is always my co-host. Tonight, as I say, we'll be talking, as usual, Scotland and Europe. With a couple of weeks there, we could bum it up, but back to normal this week, although Hearts have done us a wee turn. So we'll be talking Europe. We'll be talking, obviously, the Scottish leagues this week, probably mentioned down south. And in Ian's company, as we say, we'll be talking a wee bit of Airdrieonians. We've also got a competition to finish off, to finalise. As we say, we're looking for likes and subscribes last week. We've got a few. And we've got a few folk have obviously entered the competition, so we'll be discussing that, or we'll be dealing with that towards the end of the show. Keep anybody who's interested in watching live, keep them interested and intrigued. Dennis, it's been a wee while there. That's about 3 minutes I've been going for. Good evening to you. How you doing?
I'm fine, Cammy. Yourself, thanks?
Not bad at all. Obviously, you know Ian as well. We know Ian from our days previously with Revival FM. So he got us a few passes previously. So it's back, as I say, let's talk Europe, Dennis. It's not been a great week again. I switched on the television on Wednesday morning, it would have been. Obviously, Celtic had played the night before. I'd seen a few tweets and obviously messages and things like that, but I hadn't realised the embarrassment of the score against Celtic. And the one thing I did notice was it's a real good job that the Borussia Dortmund did not take the training bibs off, that's for sure, because otherwise it might have been 10 or 15.
Yeah, I watched it, and it was... Look, we discussed this before, and I said to you in the last few weeks that Brendan Rodgers was a bit cocky in relation to the Bratislava result.
Yep.
And I said to you that Bratislava were murder, and that was why he played the cards, that he was well prepared for this. And the bottom line is they went into the game confident, with a lot of confidence. But unfortunately, he deluded himself because he's not read the script. And the point I made was he's going to have a different kettle of fish when he plays Borussia Dortmund. And for a man of his experience, I was really shocked by the way that he almost went about the game. There was no caution. I don't want him to do what Kilmarnock done when they played Celtic at the start of the season and try to defend because it's just a waste of time. And I believe that his philosophy is that he will have a go at teams, and I like him about that. But you're in the big stage now. And also what you've got to understand is the way this league structure is, see goal difference, that can be massive at the end of it and whether you qualify. So I would have maybe been a little bit more cautious. And I think maybe halfway through the first half I went, hey, wait a minute, we need to shore this up, because if they come out in the second half and they perform the same way, I mean, the goals in the 7th minute, 11th, 19th, 42nd, and tell you what, you just can't have that. And at that level, they were really showing up. And it didn't surprise me. And it could have been, if you'd watched it, Cammy, it could have been 10, 12. And it's embarrassing enough that 7-1. But Brendan Rodgers is used to that, because when he's been at Parkhead, there's been some horrendous results that he's had, and I'm just trying to dig them out. And basically, he's been at Barcelona. He's been beat 7-0. Paris Saint-Germain 5-0. Paris Saint-Germain 7-1. And Atletico Madrid 6-0 and then 7-1. Now, that sounds like my track record when I was at East Stirling, but you don't expect that when you're dealing with Brendan Rodgers and Celtic. And I think that's a bit, it's a bit, what would you say, naive, I would say.
Yeah.
By the way, Borussia Dortmund were excellent. And I would say as well, the Celtic deserve to be at the top table, certainly, without any question of a doubt. And we're going to Rangers as well, and I'll make the same statement there. They deserved it because they have been at the top and won your own league. When you look at some of these other teams, like Bratislava, they're in it, and they're absolutely murder. So I would be critical of the way that Celtic played, but I think also people were deluded and went to maybe Germany thinking they were going to get something out of it. I'm ever the pessimist when it comes to that, or realist. And the bottom line is, Celtic were never going to be looking at that playing field and saying to themselves they were going to get something out of it. And you might say, well, what's the point of going? Well, it's not any different than East Stirling or Albion Rovers playing Rangers. You turn up and you've deserved it because whatever formation or how you've managed to succeed to be playing against the top teams, then you go and try and enjoy it. But don't delude the supporters to the point that you think you're going there. Be confident, but I think you've got to get reality checks when you come up against these teams.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
There's Ian things within the game that I look at it, and there was a big chap that scored the 2 goals. I'm just looking to see what his name was. I'll probably not be able to pronounce it. Garaski.
Yeah.
And I think he scored the 2 goals. It cost them 18 million euros for him, 15 million pound. Now they talk about the lad they've just signed with Celtic for 11 million pound.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, the boy, honestly, you thought he was playing up a public park.
Yeah.
So Celtic have got a big problem when it comes to actually scouting. And I do believe that you've got to start looking at that guy at 15 million pound. I know you pay 4 million more for him, but Celtic's got that kind of money. They should be able to tick the books and go for a 20 million pound signing. But you've got to get the right one in. They've spent the most on that guy. Is it Engels?
And Engels, yeah.
11 million pound. And honestly, the boy was at his depth.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Ian, as I say, I watch pretty much the highlights. Unfortunately, my real job doesn't really allow me to sit up beyond 7 o'clock at night watching games, to be honest, particularly ones, as I say, that I know I'm going to have to cover, but I don't necessarily have any real interest in the outcome and things like that, But
that was a nightmare.
What I watched in the morning of the highlights, I've never seen any side defence so open and with such spaces at the back. It was alarming. It was absolutely frightening.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I agree with Dennis. Absolutely, Celtic deserve to be in the competition.
Yeah.
To win the league, they deserve to be playing in the tournament. I think they had every reason to be confident after the result against Bratislava, but it seemed to be that, through the media and listening to fans, there just seemed to be a bit of overconfidence, which I suppose, we're all guilty of at times, particularly when the result was 5-1. But there's no getting away from the fact that, as Dennis rightly says, Dortmund were a different proposition to Bratislava. And Brendan's Rodgers, it just seemed to be a sort of gung-ho approach.
Yeah.
And I agree with Dennis. There comes a point in a game, whether it's midway through very quickly, I would imagine, as a manager and coaches on the side think, wait a minute, this is going to be potentially a cricket score tonight. And I would think, I'm not a manager, but I would think you would want to put on the limitations for it being embarrassing. It was embarrassing, as you said at the top of your introduction, Cammy. It could have been into double figures. I did read, I don't know what Dennis's take on this is and yours, Cammy, but I did read in the post-mortem that perhaps the score might not have been as high if Cameron Carter-Vickers had been playing. I don't know. But I think, Dortmund were on a different level, and I don't think that would have made a huge amount of difference.
I think if Carter Vickers was even in the sideline last on Tuesday night, he's probably closer to the guy at centre half than what the two centre halves were who were on the park. That was alarming. The spaces there, he could have driven a double-decker bus up the middle between the two centre halves.
Yeah, and it begs the question, as Dennis has alluded to, why didn't, after 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever, Dennis has been a manager, look, for goodness sake, we need to change this. We need to change this formation. We need to make substitutions. We need to do something. I've seen it at games where managers have done that. I've also seen it at games where managers haven't. You get severely punished. And it's a shame because the confidence was there, perhaps overconfident, but it is a shame that they were really humiliated, and it's not a good sign for Scottish football either.
No.
But yeah, if you look at the back four with Taylor, I think he struggles at a higher level. Yeah. Again, Scottish football, he does well. Scales is not a Celtic player. They've raved about him because he's come on from being really bad. Again, I've repeated this, and I don't take it just in one game. He was poor enough that they farmed him out to Aberdeen. And I've said this before, that's the same player that was instrumental in them going out the Scottish Cup to Darvel.
Yeah.
He's back in there trying to lead against teams in Europe. He's lost without Carter Vickers in there. And the big boy trustee, the jury's still out with me and him because the two of them had no understanding whatsoever. They never played close. They didn't seem to work together, and they never worked. I'll tell you who else paid the penalty in this. The boy Johnson at right back, that's the poorest I've seen him. And I think that back four were really not the races won because they were up against really good players, and it showed them up for the level that we have in Scottish football. They were dragged all over the place. They never made tackles. And I'll tell you what, that was a better show than I maybe thought they were capable of doing, to be honest. They did get exposed. But the one thing I looked at, and Neil Lennon was actually talking and doing the commentary in this match. And if he said it 3 times, and the first time I went, seriously? He kept coming up with the fact that it's a lesson, and basically it's a learning curve. It's part of the learning curve.
And I'm thinking, learning curve?
What does he mean by that? Because when Celtic get a good player, they sell him, right? Yeah. A learning curve for me is when you bring a youngster out of the academy and you put him into the first team, and it's a learning curve. If he goes into that game, well, that'll serve the boy the world of good. That wasn't a learning curve for any Celtic player last night in my eyes. It was a thrashing, and basically that's not a learning curve because Celtic don't allow players to come in. All you're doing is making them a better player to go elsewhere. It's not for the Celtic supporters that they're doing. The only people that benefits for the results in Europe is the board of directors. There's nothing else. And the Celtic support accept this constant, he's half decent, we'll punt him, right? That's no Celtic Football Club in the way they were run years ago. And I think it's been a sort of a historical thing now that they're a selling club. They may well be, but they should also be investing a good bit of that money, or at least have something that they say to the supporters. Here's our 5-year plan. If you're in business, you look at things along the lines and you say to yourself, right, okay, here's supporters, here's our 5-year plan. Well, we will compete as best we can in the Champions League. We do not have the finances to beat the Man Cities of this world and Real Madrids. But what we will do is we will put everything into it that makes sure that we can compete in a final or a semi-final of the Europa League. If Rangers do it, as they've done recently, with less resources, Celtic should be making a real push to get past that because that's their main goal. But they just go gung-ho. What are they going to get out of this if they don't qualify? When you've been hammered 7-1 in the goal and goal difference?
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say there, Ian, we've obviously spoke the last few weeks, as Dennis was alluding to there. We've spoken the last few weeks about these European competitions, how good it's going to be for Scottish football, the fact that clubs are going to be in Europe after Christmas, we're going to be in Europe well into the new year. To be honest, see if our clubs are going out and getting hammered week in, week out, what the hell is the point of being in these competitions to after the new year? You've been as well been out by November.
Yeah. I mean that's the thing. I mean we've seen it with the sort of so-called provincial clubs like the St Johnstones and the Kilmarnocks and other clubs in previous seasons. notwithstanding a good result for Hearts on last night or during the week as well. But yeah, I mean, as you say, we really should look to the top two clubs in the country, and the top two clubs are Celtic and Rangers. And I do agree with Dennis; they should be doing better than what they're doing. It'd be interesting, Dennis, to kind of get your take on. Do you think there was any point? I mean, you watched the whole game. I watched. I think, Cammy, you were saying the same in the highlights. Yeah. Do you think was there any point in the game, Dennis, where you felt that Brendan Rodgers needs to do something now, either get somebody off the field and someone off the bench, or change the setup or the formation? Was there anything that you think could have been done that could have stymied the goals, shipping the goals? And at what point do you think in the game that should have been done?
Well, he made changes, but hindsight's a great thing. I could sit here and say he should have done this and he should have done that. And to be honest, I would never question against a guy at his level. But there is an element when you look at the teams and you say, who did he bring on? Well, I just looked, I thought Hatate should have started. Yeah. And there was a question at the beginning and people were actually saying, he should be playing. And it did make a slight difference when he came on. But you know something? Damage was done. And that's the problem you've got. You look at it and you say, well, who else could he have brought on? He brought on Ralston. You say he brought in the boy Valley at fullback for Taylor. So, and Hatate for Bernardo, I thought was a good move. Ida for Kyogo. Well, I watched the boy Ida playing in Europe with Ireland, and I thought he was very poor. He never got a touch of the ball, and I thought, are you watching these games? Because that boy's not up to that kind of level either. So, and another thing is Kyogo, since Brendan Rodgers has come in, I think he's dipped. His work rate has dropped. He's probably said to him, don't run about like a headless chicken, son. But I'll tell you what, he was fun to watch, Kyogo, when he was making that commitment and effort. And the wee guy was willing to put the shift in. But since Rodgers come in, Kyogo does not bust a gut anymore. He's still lively, but that's why you've got people on the bench. If Kyogo goes out there and after an hour he's run out of steam, you better believe it, you'll have shut down defenders and you'll work. That didn't happen the other night. It just didn't happen. He just stood about a wee bit. I know he's still a good player, but he's not on the same level as he was under Postecoglou. Not on the same level. And I just wish that Tottenham had taken him to see another side of the boy again. But under Brendan Rodgers, and that's a different point altogether for the question, I believe that he's dipped a lot. But Bernardo, you can't blame it on one player, but it did make a wee bit of difference when Hatate came on.
Yeah, I mean, Kyogo, I agree. I think, the fire seems to have gone out of him. Don't get me wrong, he's still scoring goals in the domestic league, as we've seen, but there doesn't seem to be that same fire in him. And we've seen players, I don't know, would we say he's regressed? Would we use that phrase, as strong a phrase as that, Dennis? But, yeah.
Another fault, I know I'm maybe being a bit hard on them because it was a result that, you look at it and you say, if you looked at the first two games, and Celtic have said that, and I totally agree with them, if you looked at the two games, how many points would you expect to take out of it? And I would have said against Bratislava, who I thought were going to be tough, if they get 1 point out of the two games, I would have said, not a bad start. But they've managed to get 3, so I think they're doing well. Forget about the score. Every club gets that. I just used to brush it away and go on with it. You can't do much about it when you're playing against top opposition like that. And it won't let their heads go down. There's no question of doubt about it. But it's something that players like Sir McGregor, who's a very, very good player, but see when you look at what could have changed, him having maybe a bit more aggression in the middle of the park to get players round about him. He's a captain by name, but he's not a captain by leader for me.
Yeah. Is there an argument to say, Dennis, and it's obviously, as Ian and I both said, you've watched the whole game, we've got edited highlights, but is there an argument to say that maybe Celtic tried to match strength with strength, that there's no doubt Celtic are probably better going forward than they are defending. They haven't been tested really in Scotland. So there's an argument there that maybe Brendan Rodgers thought, right, well, we're going to be stronger going forward, and pretty much forgot about his back four.
Yeah, well, I did say earlier on, there's a bit of naivety in the way he went about the game. You know, has he overlooked the fact that they were in the final of the Champions League last year?
Yeah.
I know people were saying it this before it started, that basically that they've not had a great start to the season. But you don't get a team that's been in the final and dipped so quickly and so badly that they're not going to come out of the traps and go, by the way, we've got a lot to do this year because, you know, we've not had the best start in the world. So I just think to myself, well, hey, come on, are you really want to go and have a go at them?
Yeah.
I'd have been more cautious, but then again, that's hindsight, and I'm not Brendan Rodgers level. So the bottom line is you just got on with it. So they have to bounce back. There's no question of doubt about it. But I'll tell you what I watched Atlanta last night, which is their next fixture, and they're in trouble because the bottom line is they were looking excellent last night.
Yeah, they looked awesome.
They did.
Yeah.
I mean, Ademola Lookman's been pretty much quiet for the last 3 or 4 seasons, certainly. You know, that's a guy who got a couple of big money transfers very on in his career. I think he left Charlton to go to Everton. You know, he's got big money transfers early on, then seemed to disappear off the face of the earth. But he put in a decent performance for Atalanta the other night, you know, certainly. And one goal, created a couple, you know. And you're right, they're looking a decent outfit. And again, you've said there, when you saw the group kind of thing, or the set of fixtures that Celtic had, that there's maybe not any exciting fixtures there, short maybe of Aston Villa, but Atalanta is another decent game for Celtic, that's for sure, Dennis.
Well, I'll just rhyme off who they've got. They've got Atalanta on the 23rd of October, so they've got a wee break. You've obviously an international break in between that. And knowing Celtic's like somebody like Callum McGregor, but say you're playing Taylor at the back with Scotland, and he ends up getting injured. Something like that could crop up, and that's crucial to Celtic because although they've got strength and depth, that's only in the Premier League.
They might get lucky and Ralston picks up an injury.
Well, listen, the boy. I'll tell you what, though. Can you fault the boy for his enthusiasm?
No, I know. I jest.
So you've got Atlanta on the 23rd of October. You have Leipzig at home for Celtic on the 5th of November. That won't be an easy tie because they've always come to Scotland, I think, and put a shift in. You have Bruges. That should be 3 points. Again, that's a home game. Dynamo Zagreb on the 10th of December. That's away. Potentially another 3 points. Young Boys have taken 2 defeats. So that's the 22nd of January. So if you look at it, if they could get Bruges, Zagreb, and Young Boys, and 9 points in my head would say brilliant performance. But you've got to be positive with 8 games, and then the last one you have is against Aston Villa, and that's a free hit. You know, the same as they've just had. So Atlanta and the other night's game, you're looking at 3 games where you've lost, and potentially 3 that you could maybe win, and the other one maybe a draw. So you just take it as it's coming along. But Cammy, we spoke maybe a couple of weeks ago about a Super League, right? We have a Super League. The more I look at this, the more I look and say,
of course that is.
This setup is brilliant, by the way, for both the old firms. Absolutely brilliant, because there's so many fixtures that are worth watching. I just find there's too much. I can't take it all in.
Can't watch it all. Yeah, that's it. Well, you mentioned Rangers, and obviously they've not done any favours for Scottish football last night either. A 4-1 home defeat to Lyon. Alexandre Lacazette turning the clock back. Couple of good goals. His strike partner got a couple as well, you know. And again, I'm not even going to try and attempt the boy's name, but a 4-goal-1 victory at Ibrox, and Rangers a wee bit behind the 8 ball as well now.
Yeah, again, Lyon was never going to be an easy task for them. You know, definitely not. And you could say just drop the scale a little bit for the Champions League to Europa League. Yeah. Lyon are the equivalent in my head is what Celtic come up against, and it proved it. So both in teams are a little bit inferior, because Rangers, maybe they've picked up a little bit, but again, they're in a lion's den. And, you know, they're 150 million euros sitting on the bench that never played or never started.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Lamont has raised the issue about not having the spending power, but you can't raise that as an excuse when you look at the chances they've created in the two games they've had.
Yeah.
I don't know, they've had enough chances in both games to win 10 games. The problem is that Rangers can't finish. Yeah. And if you look at a guy like, I keep going on about Dessers, I can't have somebody in my team that you need 8 chances to get 2 goals out of him. You don't find that Leon done that last night. No, they were clinical. So therefore, every time that they try to defend Dessers being good at scoring goals, yes, but most people would. An average player would. Maybe even less than that. Yeah. So they've got to start changing, and he's got to get himself away from saying, that's the finished product for me and Dessers. There's no indication he's going to change that. But I'll tell you what, he'll suffer for it, and people need to start looking at it. Dessers is not the finished article or anywhere near it, and never will be, and that will cause Rangers problems throughout the seasons, because the chances they missed, not just him, I'm picking him, but you could rattle up 5 players in the Rangers.
5
team.
or 6, yeah. Even for the goal last night, Ian, Dessers involved in it, but he just does seem to be that pace short, So I mean, he made a nuisance of himself, but he doesn't have the ability to finish, as Dennis says.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the key. That's the key. I mean, take nothing away from his goal scoring in the league, but it's the big games, it's the key games. Those are the games that really matter. And there was a perfect opportunity. Not necessarily saying he's in the short window, but a perfect opportunity for him to display his prowess and his talents. And he didn't do it. Interestingly, statistics, as Dennis alluded to, Rangers had more shots than their visitors. At the end of the day, Dennis has just got it in a nutshell, hit the nail on the head, not clinical enough. And it's an old cliche, not being clinical enough. How many times have we seen teams not being clinical? But in Europe, goodness me, if you're not clinical enough, you're going to get punished.
You're going to get punished. Yeah.
And the similarities before the game, Rangers were confident, absolutely, deservedly so after the result against Malmo. But perhaps maybe an overconfidence again, having seen their bitter rivals been thumped earlier in the week, and the Rangers fans were on the high, and they were going to do the business last night, but that wasn't to be. But again, it's a great format, and it's not over yet. So there's lots of good, interesting games to come up for Rangers too.
I think Rangers have got every bit as good an exciting schedule as what Celtic have, to come, But let's take one positive, obviously, from the European week, and it's Hearts. That they have not won a game in goodness knows how long. Obviously 9 or 10 games. They managed to pick up a point at the weekend against Ross County, go away to, well, obviously not quite the Ukraine, but obviously facing a Ukrainian side in Dynamo Minsk, and managed to pull away with a 2-1 away victory, Ian. Great result for Hearts, and perhaps can that see them turn round fortunes in Scotland as well?
Well, it was a great result. Take nothing away from it. I mean, Dander's goal in the 94th minute, and interesting, it was Lawrence Shankland that provided the assist, Mr. Shankland himself. So, what a turnaround in fortunes. I mean, you would have said before, or at least I would have said before the game, this is going to be a difficult tie, absolutely a difficult tie, and they'll be doing well to come away with a draw. But all credit to them, a great result, and you would hope, particularly if you're a Hearts fan, with the terrible start they've had to the league, that this potentially could be a springboard for them to climb the league, because they will have to start picking up points in the league. I know a few defeats, a few losses, you can be down the table, a few wins, you can be up the table. But for Hearts and the size of the club that they are, and that's not a given that you're going to be successful just because you're a big club, but the fans expect Hearts to be higher up the table. And I would like to see them do that, and I would hope that result last night will galvanise the squad. It's a great result for Liam Fox as well. Superb for him. I'm not sure if he's in the running for the manager's post, but whoever comes in, could potentially build on that result. But definitely, let's see them climb the league.
Yeah. Dennis, last week, obviously, our guest on the show, Graham Duthie, was very critical of Stephen Naismith and his refusal to play Dander in games. So Liam Fox has come in. He's giving Danders a chance, and as Ian says, he got a winning goal last night. So perhaps proving that Naismith was wrong to leave him out.
Well, I think Xander is maybe, what would you say, not everybody's choice. I watched him in Ross County, and I thought it was a wee bit of luxury that loved to see himself on the ball rather than do something positive with it. I think the boy has got a great talent, but you really need to have somebody that will get the best out of him. And maybe that's the case. I watched the goal; it was well taken, but I didn't want to add on to that last week when they did mention about him not starting, because I haven't seen him playing much.
No.
But I know under his Ross County days, I thought he's good enough to get a move, but he needs to step it up and maybe play a little bit. What would you say? Forget about the glamour and start to contribute a wee bit more. But he done that last night, so maybe that's a good start. But on the back of them winning that game, you've then got the next game, which I think is the 24th of October. So they've got a wee bit of respite, and who they're playing is Nicosia. Ammonia, or whatever they are called.
Ammonia Nicosia of Cyprus.
Yeah, and they actually beat Reykjavik 4-0 last night. So there you are. They can score goals, and it's maybe not the best one you would be looking at. You'd be looking to see maybe somebody that's maybe taking a bit of a kicking rather than being really full of confidence. But listen, that result's a real lift for Hearts, because you've got to say to yourself, if they don't win these games, doesn't matter what manager they bring in, they'll be so low, it'll be impossible to lift them.
Yeah, 100%. Well, moving on, obviously, Dennis, in conjunction with our sponsor, Kit Scotland, and as I say, before the end of the show, we'll be given the picking the winner of our competition that we ran last week. But obviously, moving away from Scottish clubs in Europe and back to the domestic scene, obviously we've got a lot of fixtures, full set of fixtures over the weekend. Let's start us off with what we've got to look forward to this weekend, Dennis.
Yeah, well, we'll leave England. If we have time at the end, we can go back to that. Just touching on, obviously, a one or two results. Rangers getting a result against Hibs gives them the 3 points. It wasn't glossy. It was nothing nice to look at. Aberdeen still in a row, beating Dundee 2-1. And then that Hearts game went really to the wire, to the point that they were nearly getting, losing the whole 3 points, drawing one each with Ross County. A hard-fought battle with Kilmarnock and Dundee United 3 each. Motherwell beating St Mirren 2-1, excellent. And Celtic just blowing away St Johnstone 6-0. And that just shows you the gulf. And, I keep thinking about that, and I'm thinking, where does that really put Scottish football when you start to look at your European teams, Then this Saturday, we've got Dundee have Kilmarnock, Hibs playing Motherwell, St Mirren, Dundee United. Obviously, the European ties will be played, the teams will be playing on the Sunday, which is Ross County, Celtic, Aberdeen, Hearts, and Rangers, St Johnstone. Now tell me, why on a Sunday night at 8 o'clock we have Rangers playing St Johnstone, or anybody playing on a Sunday night at 8 o'clock? I hope the fixture time I've got here is wrong, but I've never seen that in my life.
No. That's a strange one, certainly. Let me give it a wee look just now, but that's definitely a strange time, that one, Ian.
Yeah, is it being? I'm not sure. I would assume that it's being televised because it is.
It will be. Yeah, that's the reason. That's the reason. It's a money thing, isn't it? Yeah. But you look at travelling supports, especially when you look at the Old Firm. You've got people come from Ireland on that. You can forget it then, because they need to have a hotel, and they need to stay over, and they need to take a day off their work. Does nobody consider these supporters? Absolutely not.
By the way, that's not on television.
Well, a lot of people, if you're a Rangers supporter, would have Rangers TV. So it'll definitely be in that. I don't know. It could be in Premier Sports as well.
So we've seen games on a Sunday at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. But like you, I don't think in my lifetime I've never seen a game at 8 o'clock on a Sunday evening.
No, it jumped out at me right away when I looked at that. I went, they're having a laugh.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got Ross County Celtic, obviously on Sundays. You see a 12 o'clock kickoff for the telly, Aberdeen against Hearts, that's obviously because of the European fixtures, and Rangers against St Johnstone. There's nothing marked next to that. There's a televised game, but obviously I'm looking at it on Sky, so Sky aren't going to advertise that somebody else are showing it on the telly,
Well, the time will tell, but it certainly will be in Rangers TV. There's no doubt about it. So I just find it very strange. Going back to what we were talking about originally was the Saturday games. Dundee, Kilmarnock, Cammy. Ian, what do you think? You think that Dundee can beat Kilmarnock? Because I'll tell you what, Kilmarnock's not so much turned the corner, but they're in the position that they're managing to just scrape some results together.
Yeah, and Dundee have slipped up after a really good start to the season, So I think, I'll be honest with you, that's got a draw written all over it.
Yeah, well,
I think it has.
Kilmarnock's drawn the last 3 games, so it's not much a prediction, Cammy.
Fair enough.
And Kilmarnock fans would be livid with their, I think with the 3-1 up against Dundee United, and Dundee United was at the 98th minute, I think they scored on Saturday.
Yeah.
So, Kilmarnock, particularly Kilmarnock, need to get some more points on the board. So, for me, that looks like a draw as well.
Yeah, well, Dundee started off quite well. 1 draw, a victory, and then two draws, and then they've lost the last 2. So I think if they're really going to make a push, which I thought they were, they need to get something out of that. They're at home. I think that's an advantage, and I'll tip Dundee to win that.
Yeah, and I think they're missing McCowan.
Yeah, I think so as well. It's no blatant, but you can see there that there's just that slight difference between the team that started at the league and the way they are now. But you might be right, but I'll tip Dundee because I'm not the biggest fan of that surface Kilmarnock's got down there, and I always think when they're at home, they've got a better chance than most teams. So Dundee, the surface is better. I think they've got a good chance up there.
Yeah.
Hibs and Motherwell, there's a right good tie.
I'm going to fancy Motherwell for that one.
Yeah, I've got to go with Cammy as well. I think Motherwell turn the screw a bit. Pressure's on Hibs again. But I think Motherwell just edge it 2-1.
Yeah, I think that'll be a result for Motherwell as well. Then St Mirren and Dundee United.
I'm going to take Dundee United.
A brave man. Yeah,
I know. Considering I'm supposed to be having a drink with a St Mirren supporter today, definitely yes. 100%, that's for sure. But no, I just think that the United will be too strong for St Mirren. I think St Mirren are going to struggle a wee bit this season, and I don't think they're going to be a top 6 side.
Yeah, well, I'm going to stick my neck out as well, and I'm going to side with you too. I think that the United will wage it. I was potentially going for the draw, but after the Dundee United's come back Saturday, I think that they'll be fired up to get another good result. So I'm going for Dundee United.
Yeah. Well, Dundee United started well to the point they've only 1 defeat. They've 9 points for their 6 games, and sitting just below them. But they have played an extra game. Is St Mirren, 7 games and 8 points, and they've had one victory, and they've actually had 3 defeats and 2 draws. So St Mirren, as you say, maybe a wee bit weaker than Dundee United, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to go for a draw in that one. I hate sitting in the fence, but tell you what, if whoever wins that is going to make a massive leap. Dundee United could end up with 12 points, which at this moment in time would take them up past Motherwell if they don't win. And St Mirren, instead of 8 points, would be up at 11, which would be up above Motherwell as well. So, I don't know. I'll tell you, there's a lot to play for they two.
Yeah, I think that's a good tie.
Yeah. Ross County and Celtic, I'll tell you what, Wounded Animal going up to Dingwall. I think Ross County better batten down the hatches, because Brendan Rodgers will certainly not look at that game as a defensive object.
No. But very, very difficult to see past the visitors, so...
Yeah. Who knows? It could be as high as 6. It may not be as high as that, but it's difficult to see past Celtic on Sunday for that.
Yeah. Aberdeen and Hearts. What a good tie that is. Aberdeen sitting there, second top of the league, equal points with Celtic. Neither Celtic nor Rangers have lost a game this year or drawn one. So, Aberdeen could be major players here, and who's going to be second place.
Neither Celtic nor Aberdeen have lost a game, I think you mean.
Sorry?
Yeah. I think you mean neither Celtic nor Aberdeen have lost a game, rather than Celtic or Rangers have lost a game.
All right,
Haven't
sorry.
lost a game.
Yeah, you're right on that one.
Yeah.
So Aberdeen and Hearts does throw up a good tie, because Hearts having that result, change of manager, even if it's temporary, going to it maybe with a fresh approach, and Aberdeen will need to work hard, I think. And
I'm going for Aberdeen, despite what I said positively about Hearts. I think coming off a long trip back from Azerbaijan on Thursday night, good result, not taking away anything from Hearts, but I just think it might just be a wee bit too much for them going up to Pittodrie, and I fancy Aberdeen just to steep that one.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I think that Hearts just don't have enough for the way that Aberdeen has started the league, and the confidence up there must be absolutely amazing. Yeah. And next week we'll hopefully bring in our friend from up north, from Stonehaven, who will maybe give us his own feelings and thoughts of Aberdeen and obviously Cove. The two teams that are up there, and just see what the changes have been from recent years.
Yeah. Well, as I say, Aberdeen are definitely looking good. I think that's a home win as well. So I think the threes are siding with that one. And the Dons are looking to get back to obviously previous days of glory. And I think under this new manager that they're looking like doing that. So it'd be nice to hear what he's got to say about them next week, Dennis.
Yeah, and Rangers are playing St Johnstone, and I don't know.
I think Rangers will bounce back to that one.
I don't think for a minute Rangers will lose that game. I can't see it. And I tell you, that's the fear. There's still always that wee question mark over Rangers, and they still need to hit form. I would be delighted if they start rattling the back of the net and make up a good challenge for Celtic and Aberdeen, because you need Rangers in the Premiership. Otherwise, you're finding if they drop points, which I can't see against St Johnstone, but you then start to think, is this just a two-horse race? We don't want that. We want the Premier League to maybe have 4 teams, 5 teams battling, even if it's just for second spot. Yeah. Just now you can only see Celtic and Aberdeen, and you just get that feeling that the bubble will burst with Aberdeen at some point, and then it's a one-horse race.
Yeah. I think we've all decided it's a one-horse race anyway. It's just a matter of how quickly or how soon it becomes that one-horse race, to be honest. I think that's pretty much it, and I think Celtic will maybe get to the stage even before the turn of the year where they can actually start resting players for domestic games, to get them ready for Europe. So I think that's what the rest of Scottish football is going to be up against, and it's very, very difficult to see past that one-horse race, Dennis. I'm sorry.
But something, Cammy, the thing about this is, see with the amount of European fixtures they've got, which is excellent, you could get casualties, big time, injuries.
Yeah, I know. And
it only needs, although you might think Celtic's got strength and depth, you only need is 3 players that are maybe the key players in the Premiership for them to get knocks or about for a couple of weeks. And before you know where you are, they could drop points. They're not that brilliant, by the way. They are good, but they're not brilliant. But they're definitely something you just can't take your eye off the ball with. It's all these games that they've got in Europe, travelling and everything else. And remember, look at players that are on international duty as well. So there's a whole combination of things there that could go against them. So, if it was just the Premier League they were playing in, then I would say comfortably Celtic they wouldn't get stopped. But with all the other fixtures and things that are going on, I wouldn't count my chickens if you were a Celtic supporter. Very confident, but I wouldn't go as far as saying the league's won yet.
No. Certainly they've got a better goal difference this early on, but you always feel too that come January, if they were struggling, maybe 1 or 2 players out injured, Dennis, as you've suggested, then they've got we assume they've got the money to go out and spend, and the fans would demand that they would go out and sign. I don't think necessarily it'll be all their own way, but so far they've got off to a tremendous start, banging in the goals, and all eyes are on. Not just Celtic, but Aberdeen and Rangers as well, to see if they can keep pace with them, and that's what they have to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on,
and as I say, in conjunction with, as always, Kits Scotland. And I think now would be a good time to give away that top, Dennis. As I say, we've put a request in last week for anybody to subscribe, like last week's podcast, and a wee comment. A few guys says they've struggled to get comments on Facebook, so I've had a couple of emails and texts and things like that as well. But our subscribers and obviously the views, etc., have increased massively over the last 2 or 3 weeks. So, Ian, you've got a lot to live up to in terms of guests. But give me a number, Ian, between 1 and 15, please, and I'll pick the winner for that.
1 and 15. I'm going to go for number 9, which was Callum Gallagher's shirt, Airdrie striker of last season. So I'm going to go for number 9.
Number 9. And number 9 is at David Hughes 8181. And David has said it's his first time listening to the show. Really enjoyed it. Keep up the good work. It's a nice wee thumbs up. And David's looking for a Gers retro top. I'm assuming he means Rangers there. So, David, many thanks. Congratulations. And we'll get that top sorted for you in the next few days. Get some details of where to send it.
See if he can play up front.
I'll give him a wee shout and I'll ask him that, yeah. Play up front for who, Dennis?
Who do you think? Rangers. He's a Gers supporter.
Yeah, instead of Dessers.
No, you can play with Dessers. I'm not saying you just take the guy right out of the picture.
No, that's that exactly. But as I say, many congratulations, David. Thanks very much, as I say, for your subscriptions and your likes. And Dennis, let's go. Let's carry on now. But as I say, that's obviously in conjunction, as I say, with our sponsors at Kit Scotland.
Right, here we go now, Ian. You'll love this. Championship table. Airdrie are sitting at the bottom of the league. What have you got to say about that?
Well, where'd they begin? Yeah. I'll try and keep it as short and not very short, maybe short, but not very sweet.
Not very sweet, yeah.
Well, we've heard of the difficult second album that the rock group or the pop group of the great first album, and then the second album's always the difficult one. Well, for Airdrie, that's just exactly what it is. It's the difficult second season in the championship after last season's exploits and adventures and excitement. When they finished in the playoffs, they got to the last 16 of the League Cup and they won the SPFL Trust Trophy. Fans' expectations were very high, but of course during the summer they've lost, I think, about 13 or 14 players, signed more or less a whole new squad, and the results have not gone their way. They've only won one game, the first home game of the season, which resulted in Ian Murray's sacking. That was a 1-0 victory over Raith Rovers, and since then it's been downhill all the way, and they're rooted at the bottom, and it's a game of the championship tomorrow against Dunfermline Athletic, who have got off to a great start as well. And it's a must-win. It's the proverbial 6-pointer tomorrow.
Yeah, but if you look at it, Ian, you're only losing. It's not as if you've taken a hammer. And if you go back to the 9th of August, I think you get beat 5-0 or 5-1. But these games, you're not actually getting blown away. They're all 2-0, 2-1, stuff like that. So you're not far away. There just must be something missing in relation to maybe defensively. You're not concentrating enough. And maybe just that wee bit extra finish up front. But getting beat 2-0, it's not that punishing to think that out of 7 games, you've only drawn 1, the rest are defeats. Yeah. So you must be really frustrated that it's not a hammer, but it's still a defeat.
Yeah,
and tomorrow.
Yeah, you're right. They've only been hammered by Ayr United 5-0.
Yeah.
And I wasn't at the game. I was planning to go to the game, but there was a road closure, and that was fate because I missed seeing them ship 5 goals. The difficulty this season has been that a number of factors. The fans' view, speaking to the fans, it seems to be that the view is that the opposition teams have sussed Airdrie out. They're playing out from the back that Rhys McCabe was commended for last season. And I saw that in some of the home games recently when teams were just coming right up and not giving them a chance on the ball. A few players out injured as well, which, to be fair, other clubs have had. But the scoring is just not there. I think they've scored something like 3 goals in the number of league games. They're not been able to retain the ball the same. And Rhys McCabe is determined just to continue the possession and playing out from the back. Although I do believe, I wasn't at the game, on Saturday against Livingston, and Airdrie did lose a goal late on into stoppage time. But I do believe from speaking to the fans during the week that it was a much better performance. They looked a bit more tight at the back and a wee bit more inventive going forward. But you must remember that they lost 3 strikers from last season. Callum Gallagher, who I mentioned, wore the number 9 shirt. He went to Arbroath. Gabby McGill, who I believe is still without a club, but he played well too. And Nikolai Todorov wanted more game time, and he went over to Hamilton. So they lost the 3 front men and replaced them with a striker from Cliftonville, who had a great pre-season in the friendlies in the League Cup, but hasn't really shone. He's not been given the service as well. And in a few of the games, Dennis, he's been the lone man up front. So a number of factors. The fans still believe that Reece can turn it around. That's the general chat at the Excelsior Stadium. But,
you've gone past the 90 minutes when you've lost the second goal last week. Yeah. So, Andrew Shinnie is Burridge's with 91 minutes on the clock. Otherwise, you're sitting there thinking, by the way, that's not a bad result we've ended up with. Away to Livingston, So there's an element there where you've got to. I don't think it's doom and gloom, because we've discussed this the last few weeks. And that championship is the toughest out of all the divisions. Yeah. There's no question of doubt about it. So every point you get is a prisoner. It's not something you think, oh, well, we've not achieved anything. It's only a point. I'll tell you what, a point is massive in that division. Exactly. And you've got big guns, even Dunfermline sitting down there just above you. These are both sitting in 4 points each. But Airdrie, well, if you get a result tomorrow, you could jump up to, 7th place.
You can climb the table. As you say, Dennis, we can climb the table as other clubs can do very, very, very quickly. So all is not lost. It's not doom and gloom. There's a bit of concern, understandably, speaking to the fans. But, speaking to Rhys McCabe after the games and chatting with the players, they're still very positive and trying to remain upbeat. And Rhys will not, he'll not be looking for any heads going down. And to be fair, most of the performances, the heads have not gone down. And the players are definitely trying, and the fans are willing to be patient with them. So, a tough league. Not doom and gloom yet. And I'll be interested to see how it sort of shapes up tomorrow and over the coming weeks.
Yeah, how patient will the board be with Rhys McCabe?
It's an interesting one, Cammy. Having a look at the forums and speaking to the fans again, there's a view that, in fact, there is a view, surprisingly, you may be surprised that some fans believe that Rhys should actually be given a contract extension, because what they're saying is that, if they are relegated, then the board seemed to be patient enough that they would actually give Rhys a chance to get out of League One. Yeah. So, we don't want to be talking about relegation in the first week in October, but I've got a sneaking suspicion that the board will be patient with him. I might be proven completely wrong. And, if they completely flop and they become detached, then, the fans could potentially turn on him, and then the board have to make a decision. Yeah. But my understanding is he's contracted to the end of the season. I don't expect him to. I don't expect him to lose his job. I think that even if Airdrie are in the relegation playoffs, I think Rhys McCabe will still be there. It could be proven wrong, but they've been patient with him before, and they have been patient with managers before, or at least in the last few seasons they have, particularly with Rhys and indeed Ian Murray before them, and given them a lot of support and a lot of leeway. So, interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
You've got a massive month in October. You've 4 games, right? And you've got big hitters in there, because they're all big hitters in that division. And the bottom line is you're only a 2-game hit away from getting up into 5th spot, providing the other teams don't win. And I know that's just stating a bit of an obvious situation, but 9 points is where Hamilton are sitting in 5th spot. So, as you rightly say, you're not a million miles away from it. But when you look at the fixtures you've got Dunfermline, then you actually have, you'll know better than me, you're playing Partick Thistle away. Yeah. Then you have Ayr United at home, a real toughie. So Partick Thistle, Ayr United, really tough. And then you go further down into the month, and then you've got Wraith Rovers away. So, really, really difficult games. But if you can turn the corner and get maybe 6 points, 9 points out of that even, you're flying. You're way up there challenging.
And also a next round tie in the Scottish Cup to look forward to against East Kilbride at home, sandwiched between some of those games. So, and that's an early kick-off in a couple of weeks' time. So,
and what's that, Ian?
Sorry, I'm saying the Scottish Cup. It's not. It's the SPFL Trust Trophy. The next round. So that again a bit of a mouthful, but Airdrie have got East Kilbride at. It's the SPFL Trust Trophy 4th round tie against East Kilbride at home in a couple of weeks' time. So, bearing in mind that Airdrie thumped East Kilbride.
You've already played them, yeah.
Beat them 8-0 in the League Cup. I think Mick Kennedy will have them a bit more on cue, and I don't expect it to be just as straightforward as that. I think Airdrie will still do it, but I don't think it'll be an 8-0 happening. But so tough games coming up, Dennis. Yeah, but plenty to be positive about, and no
certainly. Taking us into League One, another tough league. Well, they all are. We have results from last week that really jump out at me. The one I'm thinking about was Cove Rangers 2, Arbroath 4. And the reason I say that is it's not that long ago that we were actually talking about how poor Arbroath were. They're now sitting in 7th spot with 2 victories. And it just shows you can come off the bottom of that table and start to climb. And you've got people underneath you, you're starting to say, right, now they've got to catch us up. So there's definitely Kelty Hearts as well. Great result against Annan. And then you say Inverness against Dennismuir, nothing each. I would have thought that Inverness...
Potentially heading for administration, Dennis. Potentially heading for administration.
Yeah. Well, I've tipped them to win the league, Ian. I've tipped Inverness to win that league. And yet they're sitting in 6th spot now. They haven't won a game. Oh, sorry, they have won a game. They've played 8 games and they've got 1 victory. Yeah, I think that's the case. I've only got knowledge of 6 games in front of me, so the other 2 I don't know about.
And the danger is if they slip into administration, if they don't raise this, what is it, 200,000, then there'll be a 15-point deduction, which is not good. We're only hoping that doesn't happen to them.
Yeah, well, I hope so as well. Not that I've got any money on it, but the bottom line is I don't want a team relegated that I've tipped for the league.
No, only a number of weeks ago we were talking about Inverness had been saved from administration, and obviously things have gone awry there. So
it's sad to see.
It is, but particularly the area they come from, so yeah, it is a shame, and hopefully, as you say, they can get that sorted out,
Definitely.
Other ties for Saturday. I'm just conscious of the time now, Cammy. Alloa playing Cove Rangers. Annan have Montrose. Arbroath Inverness. Good tester there. Dumbarton Stenhousemuir. And Queen of the South have got Kelty Hearts. Ian, Cammy, what's your tie there?
It's got to be Arbroath Inverness, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That should be the two sides who are doing a lot better than what they were.
My tie is Queen of the South, Kelty Hearts. Queens are sitting top. They're coming good. Kelty have got off to a great start as well.
Yeah.
But, to me, that's going to be an interesting clash down at Palmerston Park.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Alloa's certainly done really well. They haven't lost a game yet, so they're looking good. Moving on into League Two. Yeah, your baby, more or less.
Do we have to?
Yeah, well, there you go. Listen, we spoke about this long and hard.
2 games unbeaten.
Yeah, but we spoke about free hits. We thought about the fact that Peterhead was one that you just saw around. No, it's a free hit for them. Just leave it. It's 3 points gone. It was the games before that. There you go to Peterhead and draw, and that's what we were talking about. Is it's maybe early to prejudge it. And if you look at it, Clyde's now sitting 8th. And this is what we keep saying. Some of these are only a 2-match swing.
So they've dropped a place for last week.
Yeah.
With that draw, they've dropped a place.
But it's still a draw. That's still a draw, Cammy.
But Dennis, as we've said, Clyde have as big a budget as Inverness, as Peterhead, if not a bigger one, and they have been a big disappointment this season. That their form hasn't been good. I think that's the first time in the league they've scored more than 1 goal in a game. As last week, obviously it came after the nothing each draw against the 10 men of Elgin. Played against 10 men for 87 or 89 minutes, obviously throw in injury time, and it's over 90 minutes that they played against 10 men for, and didn't look like scoring, in all honesty, So, like Ian was saying about Airdrie, Clyde's problem is in front of goals as well. The only thing is, at the other end, they're losing a few silly ones too, But another game tomorrow. Hopefully they can turn the corner tomorrow and pick up a home win. I'm trying to get them a wee bit of good luck tomorrow. I'm one of the participants, believe it or not, in the Clyde Crossbar halftime challenge. So it's the last time.
They're not asking you to swing in it.
Don't break a crossbar.
The last time I hit the bar, it cost me about 30 quid for a round, So there we are. But no,
is this at half time?
It's at half time tomorrow.
Right. Well,
yes.
here's a suggestion. If you're getting beat 3 or 4-0, make it a crossbar challenge. They need to fix it because you jump in it.
Cheers, Dennis. Thanks.
But the fixtures out with that are East Fife have Bonnyrigg Rose, Edinburgh City Stranraer, Peterhead are playing Elgin City, and Stirling Albion have Forfar Athletic. And just looking at that league, East Fife are sitting at the top with 18 points, Peterhead just below in 17, Elgin 14, Stirling Albion 12, Bonnyrigg Rose 10, Spartans 9, Forfar 8, Clyde 7, Edinburgh City 6, and Stranraer 5. So, yep. Interesting games there coming up at the weekend in that division as well.
Yeah, yep. Indeed there is, obviously first and foremost interested in the Clyde game tomorrow. Stirling Albion against Forfar, two of the worst teams I've seen this season. Forfar were pretty dreadful, and in all honesty, Stirling Albion beat Clyde with 2-0. With one shot and goal, believe it or not, still beyond me how you managed to score twice with only one shot and goal, but Stirling Albion did manage that, and as I say, that's pretty much set the tone for the way Clyde's season has gone this season so far. But no, a good result up at Peterhead again. Ian McCall ringing the changes last week. He just doesn't have a settled side. I don't think the man knows his best 11 or anywhere near what that best 11 is, and he's still ringing the changes. So the one thing that's virtually guaranteed tomorrow is the side that started against Peterhead will not be the one that starts against Spartans tomorrow.
Okay, right, just moving on. Next weekend the calendar is more or less gone because we have the international on Saturday the 12th. We'll talk about that in depth a bit more come the Friday night. And Scotland have Croatia at 5 o'clock on Saturday, and then the following Tuesday, Scotland are at home and are playing Portugal with a 7:45 kickoff. So we'll be in depth maybe a bit more about that. We'll have hopefully Ian Harrison, who will talk about Aberdeen and Cove and give us a bit more insight. And then we can maybe be looking a bit more ahead to see what the forthcoming things are happening within the English Premier League, because there's, we never touched on that so much in the Champions League. When we look at Aston Villa and how they're performing, they seem to be going great guns. So that's the things we can be chatting about next week.
We've almost adopted Aston Villa as the Champions League team of the Friday night football pitch.
Yeah, well, we've certainly mentioned it and followed them, but I think maybe we're looking there and thinking, when's the bubble going to burst? But they're doing really, really well in the league and Champions League.
Yeah, most definitely. But no, as you say, a lot to look forward to next week. Not so much domestic football, but obviously with the internationals, but it gives us a chance to discuss a wee bit more. And as you say, Dennis, in the company of Ian Harrison, we can obviously look at what's happening up there with Cove. Maybe an in-depth look at Aberdeen. Hopefully Aberdeen get a good result this weekend, so as Ian's in a good mood next week, certainly when he's debating his local clubs. Yeah,
he certainly should hopefully give us a better insight. It's not that far up the road, but we don't venture up there that often to be watching these games.
No, that's it, indeed. Well, as always, Dennis, thanks very much for joining us tonight. As I said, it's a shorter night tonight. We've been running an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and 25 minutes, but we'll keep it short because I know you're a hungry man, and you need to get fed.
Yes.
Ian, thanks very much for joining us tonight. It's great to have your company. It's great to put a face to the name, the guy that got me all these press passes and obviously get Dennis into Hearts games and all that kind of stuff. So no, I appreciate the work that you do. Anything coming up that you wish to share? Anything coming up you need to plug?
Well, Breeze Radio Scotland, as I mentioned, Community Radio Scotland, based in Hamilton in Lanarkshire, so you can get it online as well, so you don't need to stay in Lanarkshire. But just a wee plug for Ronnie Davis and his football show. Ronnie Davis hosts that on a Wednesday evening. It goes out live on Wednesday evenings on Breeze Radio Scotland between 7 and 8 o'clock. As I said, you can get it online. Just Google Breeze Radio Scotland. You can go via TuneIn Radio. And Ronnie and guests, he said John O'Brien, who's involved in Airdrie, I've been on as well. We'll have others on forthcoming. And it's a great show, a bit like this show, just focusing in the leagues across Scotland, further afield. So 7 till 8, live every Wednesday night in Breeze Radio Scotland. So a wee plug for that. And again, just a thank you on behalf of myself and Breeze Radio, Cammy, Dennis, for passes in the past and passes forthcoming from the clubs. We thank any of the clubs, from any of the clubs that's listening. We really do appreciate your cooperation and partnership and support, and it helps community radio stations and the podcasts talk about clubs, talk about them positively, not want to run anyone down, and talking up the Scottish football. So we appreciate the cooperation from clubs and fans and everyone involved in the game. So thanks for that, Cammy, and thanks for having me this evening.
No, not a problem. Not a problem. Certainly won't be the last time
Cheers, Ian.
on.
Yeah,
thanks.
And I'd just like to say, Ian, I'm no Hearts supporter, by the way. I'd like to go and watch Hearts because Cammy's like, oh, maybe he's a Hearts supporter. No, going to Tynecastle is probably the best viewing place. The atmosphere is brilliant in it, and I'm a neutral right across the board. Just want to enjoy Scottish football in general. But yeah, I do appreciate the tickets when we done Revival FM. It was ideal being the correspondent that went along to the games. So yeah, thanks for that. We appreciate it.
Yeah, well, as I said, through the connections with Breeze, we would want to try and keep that going, and keep the connections and the partnerships with the clubs going across Scotland in terms of correspondence and representation. And I do agree with you. Just on a final point from me, Tynecastle's a great stadium. I've been there as a supporter behind the goals at Airdrie, and been there in the press gantry, and it's great. You're right on top of the pitch. So anyone who's listening or watching hasn't been to Tynecastle, put that in your diary and try and get along to a game there. It's a fantastic atmosphere, even just going as a neutral. Thanks,
thanks, Ian.
Guys, thanks very much. Thanks to everyone who's listened. As always, I'll ask you to subscribe, like the show. Any comments at all on any of the content, whether it's good or bad, just give us your viewpoints. And as we say, well done to David Hughes for winning his shirt of his choice. And as I say, he's chosen the Rangers jersey. He's obviously not too embarrassed to be running about one of them yet. So well done to David.
Well, he's in the lineup. I've just checked Sunday's team, and he's in.
Is he playing? That's fair enough. No bother. No.
He's playing. Violent Philip Clement. He's playing.
Yeah, no worries. And as I say, as we say, guys, it's always happening on the pitch. Good night.